Hey, welcome back, MobilityWOD. We've been getting a lot of requests lately to talk about how I felt about rounded upper back deadlifting. And this is a different idea. People are saying, how do you feel about rounded back deadlifting? And I'm saying, I'm not sure taking your spine under large flexion loads at any time is good idea, but there is some concept about picking up with some stiff upper back. And the real issue is that I have a couple of my friends here today who lift heavy things for a living.
Hi.
It's true. And I always default to the elephant leopards, the twin elephant leopards, the twin leopards as they were. But seriously, guys, first of all, you just wrote an article in Power Magazine, which is weird and incestuous. And but you were talking about sort of these myths or these things that happen in like the cues that are misunderstood about powerlifting. One of them, or one of the cues, is this upper rounded back. Can you just talk about when it's appropriate, or even define this controversy, or talk about this?
Right. So what we're talking about is kind of when is it okay to have a little bit of a round in the back, and where. Never ever would you want to have any sort of round in your lower back. So that's the first thing we need to talk about.
So wait, lower back. So we're defining that as lumbar, because people. Here's
Correct.
the deal: is that you guys turn around, or even to the side. If we just use Mark, Mark is naturally turtly. He came out a little bit turtle, right? And so naturally, when it gets what your deadlift's like 800.
Right.
Yours is what?
766.
766. Not that we're competing or anything, but when you pull an 800, sometimes your upper back gets a little soft.
Right.
Is that true?
Right. So first thing we need to. This is your lower back. This should never be rounded. Okay. So a lot of times, don't do that. That's weird. So a lot of times what you're going to hear is, a lot of people are going to say, arch, arch, arch. So that's arch for him. What is arch for Mark? That arch for Mark is actually a flat spine. So that's what we're looking for. So now what we're looking for here is if we can round his thoracic spine a little bit. That's really not even that rounded. That's still pretty flat. We're also looking flat here, but this also bulges out, his huge erectors and everything along those lines. But this way he's going to be able to pull. So if we have him try and arch back into my hand maybe, flat, nice, tight, everything's wound up, everything's all good. So if we were to go ahead and let him totally round over and go slack and now try and deadlift that way, go ahead, come on up and deadlift. So it's okay, because what's going to happen is you'll see his lats are going to turn on and going to protect his thoracic spine. His lower back is going to always be okay. But this is only under huge load. This isn't going to be something that we practice in order to have happen, to practice being in bad positions. We'll put ourselves in bad positions and get ourselves out of them in order to get stronger, like a deficit deadlift against bands or something along those lines.
You're not getting into a rounded back.
Correct. We're getting into a bad position, finding a way to get in a good position while down there, and then kind of coming back up out of it.
So one of the ideas is that, look, pick up a heavy stone off the ground, you're going to have a rounded upper back.
Right.
And you just can't lift a heavy stone or object off the ground.
It's impossible.
And the reason is that your upper back, your thoracic spine, is built to withstand a little bit of flexion load. But one of the other key concepts here is that you guys aren't ever translating into flexion. You set the back position, and then that stays it. Right. What we see a lot of people is they start pulling, they change in, and that's shear, and that's thoracic herniation might happen, right?
Right. So we're actually doing the opposite. We'll get here and then translate out of it into.
But you said earlier you don't really train that way.
No.
And you don't really train that way. And Andy Bolton doesn't deadlift that way, right?
Neither does Benedict Magnuson, neither does Konstantin Konstantinov.
Wait, but Konstantin looks pretty rounded.
Right.
Isn't that why people think he's rounded?
He's going from rounded to straight, and he's maintaining his positioning throughout the whole lift.
Exactly. If you really look at it in slow motion, he's actually coming here and then round. So he starts in this position, but this is his cue for him. He's in, and we always talk about this.
What does he weigh?
About 280 to 300 pounds. So he's going from this position, and his cue is he's throwing his head back and getting into that position. So he's not. Never does he actually fishing pole down. He's always kind of coming back up and out of it.
Once in a while, he might be a little bit over, but 950-pound deadlift with no belt, something might give a little bit.
Right, which just shows that he's still weak. That's what I'm saying. right, that's right.
But
He's got potential.
Right, but with all the tools that we have at our fingertips, whether it be a deficit deadlift, bands, chains, pulling off of the pins, any sort of different bars, etc., to try and suggest